control over it, I would take control. I know. We do what we can. It looks like Kathy left, so maybe she'll be able to come back on. If we can't work it out, we'll have to reschedule. See if I can find her. It says that she left. So, initially, we'll just wait and see if she can get back in. There you are.
What happened? I was suddenly disconnected.
I've heard that there are major solar flares. Maybe you can tell us what's going on because it's been wonky.
Oh, yeah. Wonky, wonky.
Is it retrograde anything?
Not that would be affecting this. No.
So we can't blame it on that? Jeez.
No.
Sorry, I have to leave this call because my Wi-Fi is not working. You know what I mean? Like Mercury retrograde gives us a good excuse sometimes when things aren't quite working. You had horrible videos and sound before. Well, thank you, Warren, for bringing us up. Can you see the chat?
It flashes up, yes.
Oh, okay. Somebody's phone signal is bad. Yeah. Welcome everyone to Spirit Talk Podcast. I'm here with Kathy Biehl. We do this twice a month. It is what is it? I'm like, is it a new moon week?
Yeah, next week is the new moon in Scorpio, and we're doing it before.
I'm still reeling from the full moon lunar eclipse.
You would be.
Yeah. What a month. And then I heard, I was listening to Pam Gregory a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She was interviewing somebody, and they were talking about this month is going to be even more intense. And I was like, no. How is that even possible?
I actually don't agree with that, but
okay.
what do I know?
Right. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has an opinion. So why don't you tell everyone who you are, in case we have new people or people who need to be reminded, and we'll get started.
Hey, everybody. I'm a professional astrologer. I've been doing this for more years than I want to own up to. We'll say at least 30. I make freely available forecasts for every month, new moon, full moon, and week at empowermentunlimited.net and my YouTube channel, which is Professional Aquarian.
All right. Annette Dion, psychic AnnetteDion.com. You all know that. When we last left our story, can we talk a little bit about the fallout from the full moon lunar eclipse? Because I think it feels like we're not really here.
Well, we're not done.
Okay.
With the eclipse. All right. Now, this eclipse is wrapping up or started to wrap up a process that's been going on since November 2021. And it has to do with our precious toys, resources, values, what we invest in, what we get out of things. And eclipses are not one-day events. And this wrapping up one, will continue to feel playing out for the next few months. The Scorpio new moon is the first really strong moment we're going to have to actually do something proactive with all the stuff that happened. But and that's next week on the 13th. But this full moon was high stakes. I know a lot of people who had massive health problems.
Oh, really?
Any drama that's going on in somebody's life right now isn't garden variety annoyance. It's big. And a lot of it is forcing us to see what we have sunk our energy into, our resources into, and whether what we're getting out of it is worth it. And in many instances, the answer is it's not.
So in other words, it would be like, I guess an analogy would be like if someone had sunk all their time and all their energy into working for a company and got to a place where it's like, I don't know, just seems like diminishing returns.
Yep.
Kind of a feeling.
Yep.
And also it feels too like things are being forced on us that are, I would call it tower card, things are being, the change is being forced on us.
Mhm.
And there's a sense of, for me, disorientation around time. I mean, I could blame that
I can
on
explain
typical
that.
things, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like on Wednesday, was it? I don't even remember what day. On on Wednesday, I thought it was Monday, and it's not just because I'm traveling to a different location. I just really thought, and I don't usually do that. You know what I mean? It just doesn't feel. It feels like
Mhm.
we're in a different dimension. And I said, and I hadn't heard many astrologers talk about this, but early in the year, I don't know if we talked about it. That comet in February. Do astrologers talk about comets?
Some might. I don't normally see much conversation about that. It's certainly not something I follow.
I wondered why there was so little conversation about it because, from a psychic impression perspective, I thought that green comet that was the end of February. There was a very weird cold, like Arctic cold snap that happened for like a day and a half during that time, and I was in New Hampshire, and it was visible if you got up really early and had a telescope or something. But my sense was that we're moving into 5D. And the last time that comet had passed the Earth was during the time of the dinosaurs. And then after the dinosaurs, as we know, we kind of evolved. Like humans kind of appeared,
Mhm.
and this new consciousness appeared. And I know that probably sounds far out, but that's what field we're in. We're in a far out kind of a field, right? Said the astrologer. So I don't know. Nobody was really talking about that. But you remember, I don't remember what it was called, except it had numbers and letters. And
No, it's not Halley's Comet. It had numbers.
no, it was.
Um,
They called it the Green Comet.
well, I can think of
It
three
wasn't Halley.
things going on astrologically right now that speak to that and also point to where we're heading. The first one is Uranus, which is electricity and lightning and disruptive, is traveling in an opportunity aspect with Neptune, which is completely unhinged from earthly existence.
Oh, well, then that explains it right there.
Right there, and that's going on for a while. That won't be so strong once we get into December, and it'll be. And I'm seeing that my phone is ignoring a very specific instruction I gave it. Interesting. Technology has its own mind. I'm
It
sorry.
really, it's it.
I just have to say that.
I've
Uh,
had to take a deep breath lately and just like, it's not me. It's not
no,
personal.
no, it's not you. It's a sentient being at this point. And we'll experience this again next spring. But right now, you can pull a positive way of dealing with this with thing one is you can pull inspiration out of seemingly nowhere
Yeah.
with this going on. So
I wrote,
it's
I wrote, I have to stop you there. I wrote 2 songs in a day and a half.
that's the Dolly Parton way. That is terrific.
For me, that creative thing, it's like it takes me over. I don't know when to expect it. I don't know where it comes from, but I think you mentioned something about that the last time. And they're
Mhm.
not just crap songs; they're really good songs.
Yep, full formed from the head of Zeus. Bam, there they went. That's wonderful.
Crazy, yeah. So, wasn't there something going on with Neptune that would sort of prompt a lot of creativity that you mentioned before?
Uh, I'm sure it did have to do with Neptune, and I'm not sure what specifically I was talking about then, but I will tell you right now, what I'm talking about is Uranus sextiling Neptune. Uranus is in an opportunity aspect to Neptune. It's possible that that's what I mentioned before, but
Yeah,
and this is this month, all right, and it'll happen again next spring. But give yourself some downtime, people, and see what just kind of comes to you.
that's what happened.
Yeah, and
That's
this
exactly what
this
happened.
week particularly is not a time to push things forward. It's a time to just kind of sit back and go, isn't that interesting? And take it in And then
Yeah.
next week, you'll start to know what to do with it, but it will not be a conscious, mental, planned knowing. It'll be an instinctual knowing, very different.
I want to speak to what you just said about, isn't that interesting? That is a really great approach that I recommend to a lot of people, to not get so like in reactive mode with what's going on, and to just to step back, and like we were just talking about technology, to just step back and go, technology isn't working. Isn't that interesting? Because otherwise we can get really triggered. We can really kind of go off the rails. And I do feel like it is a time for that. And I like that you're saying it's a time to have downtime. Because I just decided to stay a little bit longer out of town.
Well, why not?
Yeah, yes, and just to be in that, it's more like observer mode. I wanted to ask you about how crazy and disorienting time space has been feeling. So you mean that that's kind of peaking right now, or when did that peak, and when can we expect things to? I'm never going to say to go back to normal, to just be like a little bit more feeling manageable.
By the end of the month,
Okay.
especially when we get into Thanksgiving weekend. And actually, starting in a few days, people are going to start to just move into coping mode. Like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and live my life. I don't care. All right, isn't that fun? Ha ha ha. And as we get toward
Yeah.
the end of the month, I just see people being more and more sociable and just going out and trying stuff. But
Okay.
there are two other things I want to say, dealing with the concept of time weirdness. And one of them has to do with what's going on with Saturn. Saturn's the ruler of time.
Ah,
Saturn is the planet of adulting. It's the
right.
planet of structure, order. It wants us to, it's the influence that says, wear a suit, pay your bills, eat your vegetables, go to bed early, blah, blah, blah. Saturn is sitting at the very first degree of Pisces. So this is putting a box on the ocean kind of energy. And Saturn just finished its first retrograde in this sign this weekend, and it's stationed direct, but it's not moving. It's just kind of gaining strength in the water. Think of it as a boat that came back to the dock, and
Yeah.
now it's like unhinged itself. It's unmoored and it's starting to pull the anchor up, but it's not time to move forward yet. That doesn't happen till the end of the month. So there is a sense of something's building, something's brewing, and I would encourage people to hang on to the word accountability. If you find yourself freaking about anything you see going on in the news, just remember accountability. And certain things are inevitable once Saturn gets moving. So right now, the ruler of time is just kind of hovering, suspended, like, ugh. So don't
Right.
push it.
Yeah. Yeah. So Saturn. I mean, when you said Saturn and time, I thought, okay, that makes sense because Saturn is Father Time. Was it like in? Was it because what you said in Pisces, and I was thinking it feels more Aquarius. Was it on? Was it kind of
But
between the
no, no,
two?
no, no. It's been in Pisces since March
Right.
7th, and it went retrograde in, I believe, June at 6 degrees Pisces, and it went back to zero, and it's just been sitting there since early October, and it will not move forward until after Thanksgiving. So it's just sitting there idling its engine. Gonna move.
So it's
Gonna
at
move.
0 degrees of Pisces.
Hmm.
Doesn't that make it very close to Aquarius?
Well, it's close to Aquarius, but it's across the line. It's across the line. It's not ducking over.
But does it have any kind of bearing on the Aquarius, the sign of Aquarius, since it's at 0 degrees? Is like, I don't know. I always think if something's at 0 degrees that it has a little bit of an influence, almost like cusp energy.
Well, I mean, I don't see that. You could say that Saturn is the uh traditional ruler of Aquarius.
I'm trying to explain the chaos, Kathy.
Oh, no, 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 no,
Hang on,
no.
I just wanted to
Chaos.
make sure
Wait, wait,
everyone's
wait. So we still have eclipse volatility flying all over creation. We've got Saturn, the ruler of order, not moving, just kind of,
Okay.
it's
All
not
right.
moving.
Well, that's
And
neat.
then there's one more thing, and it's a big one. It has to do with Pluto. Now, a lot of people last year got really hyped up about the US Pluto return. The US
Okay.
has Pluto at 27 degrees Capricorn. And last year, Pluto went 3 times over that. And recently, Pluto's been sitting on 27 degrees Capricorn, and it just moved off.
When?
The second, I think, just at the
Okay.
beginning of the month. So,
Right.
so we will never experience in our lifetime Pluto sitting at 27 degrees Capricorn. Next year, Pluto, the planet of regeneration and unavoidable change, will scoot back into Capricorn, but it'll only go to the very last degree of Capricorn. So the pulling up of our roots and structures and infrastructures and the rot in our institutions has hit critical mass, and things are as far as they're going to get in that direction, which if
Are
you
you
think,
sure? You
yes.
promise?
So it's fascinating that as this happens, the House elects an insurrectionist
Yeah.
speaker who has Mercury at 28 degrees Capricorn. So Pluto was just about on his Capricorn. And I'll just throw in here, I think his sphere of influence lasts until Pluto gets out of Capricorn in mid January. And
Yep.
then between mid-January and early February, when Saturn returns to the degree that it did its turnaround in June, I think that's his window for his power being gone.
I
Just
think
gone.
he's that lines up with what I've been reading in the cards. Is that I feel he's going to be out of that seat by the end of the year, or by right around that time
Could
period.
be. I mean, it certainly could be. But look at all the revelations that are already coming out just in his first week of being in office.
Did we
So,
talk? Did we talk about last time that I saw illicit sexual activity, and then I laughed because it's like it doesn't take a psychic because they're all kind of like that, but it is a psychic impression, and I was it was just a matter of a few days later they started talking about this pornography screening app or something. Did you read about that?
yep.
So it is starting to come out, and his role. What do you see? What do you see? Maybe I don't know if you see it. What's gonna
It's
happen?
like the final extraction of a root canal that's failed. And that really hurts when you have to undergo the cleanup of a failed root canal.
That's one way to put it. Fun, 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 but after you have it done, then you don't have the infection anymore.
Right. Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Warren. So glad it amused you. Um,
Yeah, but you're left with a solid tooth, right?
or an
After that.
implant, something. Anyway, all of the stuff that's happening right now, especially this week, it's all part of Pluto moving out of its destructive, reconstructive, deconstructive. That's the word I want. It's moved from deconstructing what our ground rules are, uh, slowly into what the next phase is going to be like, because Pluto and Aquarius will be very different. And keep in mind, Saturn just sitting at 0 Pisces. And this was what was in place when a certain someone took the stand yesterday.
Who might that be? Let me think. Does he have an orange face?
I'm sure it was red at some point.
It was very red. Yeah, it was insanity. So you reassured us in a recent show that the worst was coming to an end.
Right. And the worst with the uh fogginess and the lying and the I don't think his grifting is going to go very well. And his being someone who sells illusion, his being a con man. Saturn's in the bullpen. It's
Right.
just queuing up and it's going to me. So just timeline for people. And don't scream at me. It's a little longer than you want,
It's
but
hard to predict time, even with astrology.
timeline for people. All right. Things start really seriously getting jettisoned early spring, like explosions going off, blowing things up for him. Then late April, early May, early June, that's when the wrecking ball really hits. And because two things happen at once. Uranus in the sky crosses his midheaven, which is the doorway to his career house, and it hits this angle that represents where your place is in the world, your place at home, your place in your career. So we have the wrecking ball going across from one direction, and then a really technical thing,
Hmm.
converse solar arc Pluto going across it from the other direction. So we've got both agents of change
On him.
at the same time, same place. And then when we get into the fall, before the election, do not hyperventilate, people. Saturn completes its locking into the blabbermouth signature he's got in his chart. And Saturn personally does the cleanup work for what happened from 2014 on. So just for brief review, one of his main talents in his money house is being able to make completely illusory deals. Neptune in Libra. So Neptune, planet of illusion, from 2014 until at some point last year, was moving through a part of the sky that was gradually locking into what I'm now calling his blabbermouth tendencies. And it was also hitting the US Neptune in a really stressful way. Neptune has now moved out of orb. It's like not making these direct contacts anymore. And now Saturn is lining up as the cleanup batter. And it's just going to come along and go do, 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 bam, 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 bam. So,
Yeah.
we can line up what's going to happen. Where he calls home, he's not going to have anymore. That's one thing. What he sees as his career, he's not going to have anymore. That's another thing.
Right. Yeah. And Mar-a-Lago, you know that when he first left the White House, thank God, and we went to Mar-a-Lago, there were people there protesting that he was living there because there was an agreement that he was not to live there.
That was brought up in testimony yesterday.
Oh, was it?
Well, the deed says what the deed says. Yeah. So anybody that thinks, oh, why did he not end up in jail after what he did in the courtroom yesterday? Lawyer in me says no other defendant would ever have had that happen. But lawyer in me also says the plaintiff, the states, just stood back and let him destroy himself, which is really the way you want to discredit a witness.
Right.
So
what was he saying about Mar-a-Lago?
The deed says that there was an intent that it was only to be used as a private club and not a resident. And he made some comment about intent doesn't mean we're going to do it or not going to do it. I mean, he had this really bizarre interpretation of the word intent.
He signed that right to live there off years ago when he purchased Mar-a-Lago. So when he went back there, people were protesting in that neighborhood in Florida. They were all upset. They were demonstrating and they were trying to get him out of there because he wasn't supposed to be there as a resident. It's not a residential place. So that did come up. I didn't realize that came up.
Well, it also affects the tax valuation. It all fits together. Anyway, bottom line out of all of this is that it may not be until early next year that we start to see significant comeuppance, and then it just starts going like a minefield is going off, and it doesn't stop and doesn't stop and doesn't stop.
Yeah, because he's lining up all these fireworks, you know? He really is. He's just like, that one will explode a little bit later. That one will explode a little bit later, right? So it's just like a total buildup of wrong things that he's saying in terms of, not getting himself in trouble. He's saying things that they'll all get him in trouble. And the spring is when the January 6th trial comes up, right? And is it March?
Yeah, but there's several others before.
It's unbelievable. I
E.
mean,
Jean
and what
Carroll's litigation is before then, and I think there's another one that I haven't tracked.
when Eugene Carroll, when that trial happened, and the resulted in, what did he, $5 million penalty that he had to pay to her. And I remember I was doing a video, and I'm like, when 5 million, when that figure came from Eugene Carroll for damages, I was saying it's going to be more like 100 million. When I heard it was going to be was it 5 million? I think it was. I was like, gosh, I got that way off. But then
But
now it's
there are there's another case, and B, he defamed her the next day.
yeah, exactly. But
So that one's not over. That's not
originally
over.
I was like, it's going to be like 100 million, and then I thought, how did I get so way off? But it's building. So
March also has the hush money case, the hush money trial in New York State. So,
good Lord,
yeah, there's just so chill, everybody. Just chill, chill.
why
Pay
on
attention to your own lives. Clean up your own lives. Figure out what you want in your daily
and
life.
turn off the TV when they start talking about Trump being back in the White House? It's so ridiculous, and these stupid polls. What the heck?
Polls are paid for. Polls are paid for.
I mean, what's going on with the media that they're blatantly lying to us, and it's so obvious? Do they really just, I mean, is America still under this diluted cloud? You were saying that it's kind of easing,
It's
right?
kind of dissipating. Now that is going to be extraordinarily different by 2025. So just notice the beats here. There's something that's we're going to feel this month like we can actually start to do things. And then we start to feel a little more like wanting to hang out with fellow humans and have a
Oh,
good time again.
yeah.
Then in January, there's this feeling of, oh, this is where we're heading as Pluto moves into Aquarius for a brief, it'll be there for 9 months next year before it does its cleanup work in Capricorn. Then we have incredibly explosive solar eclipse in April that is the call and response to the one we had in October. So everyone gets in their own little jetpacks and starts blasting forward. And this is going to happen on the US Chiron. So we will be dealing with the role of violence in our society. Let's just leave the statement as that,
Well,
okay?
we'll be
As
dealing
that.
with it. We'll be
And
dealing.
then as the year goes on, we're finishing up some energies that we do not have again in this lifetime. And by early 2025, Jupiter and Neptune meet at the very beginning of Aries. So, uh, I'm sorry, Saturn and Neptune. Now, Neptune rules Pisces. Neptune is absolute formlessness. It's
Yeah,
great inspiration. It's, being drunk. It's all kinds of stuff. And uh, some way of escaping or an anesthetic of some
right.
sort. And Saturn is pay the piper. And they're both in Pisces now, but they're not going to meet in Pisces. They don't meet until they both get into Aries in 2025, which is a way of saying that a really different way of going about a lot of things ignites in 2025. So
And it's
pay
positive.
attention to your own stuff, people. We're on a path.
Well, yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's going to be, I honestly am extremely optimistic about all of this.
Well, when you said, around early next year, we're going to be kind of getting ready. Oh, here's where we're going. What do you mean by that?
What I mean is, in mid January, Pluto goes back into Aquarius. experienced the first taste of this energy from the end of March until I think it was like June 10th or 12th, the first third of June. Uh, this energy has not been in the US since after we were founded. I'm sorry, since after the Declaration of Independence was signed. Pluto was in Aquarius further down in the sign when the Constitution was was executed. But we had this first taste of a different way of experiencing power, and the WGA, the director's strike or the writer's strike started the day Pluto moved into Aquarius. So there's a big thing about collective power, about moving the locus of power from a few institutions and individuals, really top heavy, and moving it into much more of a lateral collective community thing. So we get another taste of where this might be going from mid-January into the beginning of September next year. In 2025, or the very end of 2024, somewhere around New Year's, Pluto moves into Aquarius until 2044. So right now we're just getting, standing in the doorway, toe across the doorway, looking around, going back, cleaning up things, and then
So Pluto going into Aquarius. When did you say that is?
we've already tasted it once. It
Yeah.
was March 23rd through about June 10th, I think. And then in mid-January, it goes back into Aquarius, and it goes from 0, 1, and 2 Aquarius, and then it backtracks. And so it only goes like a few degrees into the sign, and then in September next year, it scoots back into Capricorn for a couple of months for the final cleanup of the restructuring of our institutions.
So we have that influence. I mean, it's not like Mercury. It's just like, oh, it's just a couple weeks. We have that Pluto and Aquarian influence for all of next year. It sounds like.
9 months.
Yeah. Okay. So 9 months of next year. Pluto and Aquarius to me feels like you're talking about complete overhaul energy. So you're optimistic, as am I, and it's being in that optimism seems for me to point to we're going to make our democracy work again. Is that
Oh, and it'll probably be structured somewhat differently, but there are the Pluto going across the US Pluto has shown us where the beams and the supports in our foundation are rotted or corrupted or just collapsing. So we're going to rebuild them.
And the enemies in our lives and our collective lives, always in the end, we can be grateful because they make us stronger. And I always said from the very beginning, the reason for Donald Trump was that we needed to strengthen our democracy from a high spiritual perspective. And we have been forced to really look at it. I think most people are pretty freaked out about the threat of fascism, which, as am I, of course, but it doesn't, whenever I think about it, like this Mike Johnson, MAGA Mike, I don't feel like it's almost like trying to grab something and it's got soap on it and it's slippery and you can't grab it. It just doesn't seem like it's taking hold. And today we'll see what happens with the elections today. Do you want to talk any about that or about?
What I can say about the elections today, I have the chart here for the Republican Party and for the Democratic Party.
Feel like anticipation. I can just
so Saturn, remember, everybody all together now, Saturn is stationed at 0 degrees Pisces. And we're highly aware of sacrifice. And Saturn in the Republican Party chart is opposite Mars in Virgo. So there's like looking at what men have done that involves, health. And very soon, when Saturn moves forward by early December, it's going to cross Venus in the Republican Party chart. Venus in Pisces. So already right now we've got this unmoving influence that's bearing down on women as sacrifice. I
Yeah.
say to you,
Yeah.
reproductive rights will be a determinative factor across the U.S. in what happens in elections
Most
today.
definitely, because sacrificial is the right word. It's just, it's unbelievable. I mean, I have to not think about it. I get too upset.
The other thing worth mentioning is that the Democratic Party has Uranus. It's changeable because it's changed its nature. In fact, both
Yeah.
parties have changed their nature from when
Yeah.
they were founded. But the Democratic Party has Uranus, planet of innovation, planet of disruption, at a point that I have mentioned already today, 27 degrees Capricorn. So Pluto has been sitting on the Democratic Party's Uranus in the 10th house of um, its public stature,
Yeah.
and
Right.
there has been more progressive, not Bernie Sanders level, but there's been more progressive legislation and approaches coming out of the party. And and so it's already undergone its trial by fire. And I
Yeah.
think it will only be, it's already gone through its evolution, and it doesn't have this Saturnian, now you will pay thing going on in its chart right now.
And I had that Saturnian, you're going to pay.
Well, but I will say next year, oh, okay.
When was that?
Next year, Saturn in the sky is going to trine the Democratic Party's Saturn, which is in the fourth house of Homeland. That's stabilizing. That's stabilizing. People who are hyperventilating about the election next year, here's a signal that nobody has been talking about, of things stabilizing for the party of grown-ups. Who's been the grown-ups in the room?
Oh, it's unbelievably, it's obvious.
Yep. So let me get a time for that. Hang on.
Thank you for saying Democratic Party and
Oh,
not
that bugs the you
Democrat.
know what out of me if people do not say that correctly.
We really have to hold the line on that because it's the Democratic Party. We're not changing what the MAGAs have done is they've turned it into a noun
So the tide turns late spring. That trine starts late spring.
for the Democrats.
Yep, and then it's back again. Oh, let me see when. Da 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 da. Oh, late August, early September, and then it locks in for the final time. Oh, isn't this interesting?
Like we were saying. Isn't that interesting?
January of 2025. Huh.
So it's looking like the Democrats will become stronger.
Mm-hmm.
It's looking like democracy is going to kind of get a new breath of life.
Mm-hmm.
Is
It has
that
a makeover.
consistent? Okay.
Yep.
And MAGA Mike is probably going to be done by January.
I honestly, but I believed in Santa till I was really old. I honestly thought there was a window where he could like immediately have had the
Yeah.
trap door fall out under him
To do that,
and
Kevin,
take him down.
remember we were saying Kevin McCarthy would be out in June and it took till October, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, as Saturn goes on through its little journey next year, um, it's gonna bring out stuff involving women and money. So even after, you know, I don't see him in, let's call it, power horribly long. Um, I'm sorry, things are popping across my screen that I told it not to tell me, and it's distracting me. Um, the solar eclipse that is conjunct the U.S. Chiron, and let me tell you exactly when that one is. Hold on, I've got all these different notes. It's in early April next year.
yeah.
That may actually be pivotal in booting him out of Congress. Now, what might do that? Could there be, I don't know, criminal charges?
I get of a sexual nature. I don't know if you can see that in his chart, but it's
Oh, well, I'm
sort
thinking
of,
there's something still political going on here. I will not be surprised if there aren't a round of indictments that come down in the spring that pull in members of Congress.
yeah, that's definitely on its way.
So, I mean, that's what I'm
Yeah,
seeing in this right here. I
yeah.
think that the stuff you're seeing might be later in the year.
Oh, I think it's going to be earlier. I think
Well,
it's going to come out earlier.
the consequences for it could be
Well,
later.
maybe later, but I do feel that Jack Smith, and maybe we can take a peek at his chart if it's handy.
Oh,
I do think that he's going to hit a few home runs out of the park.
A lot of them. Hang on, let me find.
He's in batting practice right now.
Indeed, he is. All right, hang on. Give me
Getting
1
ready.
second. I want to get rid of this one light.
Yeah. How's everyone doing out there? Just so you guys know, I can't really see the chat very well, so I'm not ignoring you. I can't really see, but talk among yourselves. Yeah.
Nope, still bad.
The light?
Oh well, it's just the way it is. Okay. Oh, I know where it's coming from. All right, sorry. Jack Smith. Well, we don't know for certain what his moon is because we don't have a birth time for him. However, regardless, Saturn is kind of moving across the territory of his moon. Saturn is in his house, his solar house of the legal system. So he is moving more and more and more. And I think that as Saturn moves forward, that's when we're going to start to see some of the big scores. There's also a woman he's got some issues with. Might she be in Florida?
Okay, we're talking about MAGA Mike, right? Because I was mentioning Jack Smith. So
no, we're talking about Jack Smith.
Okay, so
I thought you wanted his chart. I'm sorry. You want to go back to MAGA Mike?
No, because you were saying something about a woman, and so I was like, are we talking about Mike Johnson again?
No, we're talking about Aileen Cannon is what we're talking about.
Oh, okay. All right, so let's just back up a little bit. So we're talking about Jack Smith. We're talking about what's coming in March. I'm saying that I feel like he's getting ready to knock it out of the park several times. And I just feel like there's so much going on undercover behind the scenes investigatively that I really do feel like some of these fascist Republicans are shaking in their boots because of it's the fear of what they don't know. They know what they did, right? They know they were part of the insurrection, but I feel like they're shaking in their boots. Like Mike Johnson is one. There are many others because I think they're just really nervous because Jack Smith of the DOJ has been so like under the earth, right?
So you can look at June until this weekend as a time when it looked like nothing was going on or like nothing was happening. But now that Saturn is direct in his 9th house of legal proceedings, here it goes.
So this weekend coming or last weekend?
No, it's already started. So now it's at least oriented forward. We may not see big action until early in December. There are a number of levers that could fall. I mean, anything could happen actually, but there's something there are several women judges that are involved, female judges that are involved in these various things. And so maybe something happens one way with Judge Chutkan, something happens another way with Aileen Cannon. This is also a time when Aileen Cannon might exit stage, right?
We thought that was going to happen sooner too.
Yep.
So with the women that are the female judges that we've looked at Aileen Cannon's chart.
Let me pull her up here.
We looked at Judge Chutkan's chart. I'm pretty sure. We looked at a lot of charts.
I have lots of charts.
I appreciate all your hard work, Kathy. We really do. Let's hear it from Kathy.
Thank you. Okay, Aileen Cannon, hold on.
Yes, you're welcome. Yeah. Still there, and when does she leave?
Well, so Oh, this last eclipse was kind of like the seeds of her downfall. So we'll see what it is she did that
Oh, yeah.
so I'm thinking she's already done something that is going to be pivotal in what happens. When does actually both eclipses in October were important, and the solar eclipse at the beginning of April is like a point of no return for her. It does not mean she'll still be on the case in then. You can start feeling it 3 months before, but the buildup. I mean, like just know that the solar eclipse is going to hit her Saturn in Libra, being an authority on a bench. That's a signature for being a judge. And the solar eclipse hitting that could be the factor in jettisoning her out. I'm not saying she will be removed on April 8th. It will probably happen before then. But this eclipse is just another, and we really mean it, blam,
What sign?
coming.
What sign is she?
She is a Scorpio.
Oh wow, there's a lot of Scorpio and a lot of Gemini energy. And Jack Smith is a Gemini. We're pretty sure. And does he have
He is a Gemini.
does he have
Um,
Scorpio in his chart?
no, what he has in his Neptune's in Scorpio, but that's just a generational consideration. What's important here is, as I mentioned before, he has a pileup that involves Scorpio. He has a pileup in Virgo that involves that has Pluto as part of it, and Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. So it's Pluto is there, the South Node, which is his default way of being. He goes into the details really,
Oh
really deeply. If
yeah.
anyone has read any of his indictments, that'll be
Yeah.
true. Jupiter is there, which expands everything, and so is Uranus. So he goes about things in a kind of unexpected way. But this is fighting with the mind and getting all of the details in order. And then there's a
Yeah.
fearlessness that goes with this.
That's those two things are his superpowers. Is just really digging in. That's why I'm wondering about Scorpio, because Scorpio likes to dig in and poke things and
That's the Pluto. Pluto's part of this pileup in Virgo. So,
right. When is it most intense? Like I do feel a time when it's gonna be like one after another revelations. Do you see a time of like one after another revelations about like with the insurrectionists that are in Congress right now?
well, in December, Saturn in the sky is going to be in an opportunity aspect with Saturn in his chart. So that could be when things start. That could be when he starts bringing in Congress, which is unusual because a lot of commentators are saying he wants to take care of the guy at the top before he pulls anybody else in. But he might surprise us. He might he might have at least have a grand jury impaneled that will be investigating that stuff at that point, whether he's actually bringing charges then or not. And later in December, he has his Mars return. That could be very empowering. So Mars in the sky will go back to where it was when he was born. Um, and he has Mars in Sagittarius, so he's a legal warrior.
Oh yeah.
Makes yeah, makes
Oh
sense.
yeah. That definitely lines up. So I do feel like I feel like subpoenas will come for the insurrectionists that are in Congress by the end of the year.
Oh, and that could be in this time period in December, very easily,
Yeah.
very, very easily. That I'm talking about charges later. But his power, his stature, his expertise, his role as an enforcer will start to build as Saturn starts moving direct.
And Trump at that time in like around December that we're talking about, what's going on for him in December?
Um,
Anything that's like,
hang on
gotcha.
a sec. Hang on a second. I've got the trial stuff starting here. Let me start with that. Um, That's not.
Trump is a royal mess right now, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Warren's saying yes. I do think that Jack Smith was George Washington, and
Okay. So, why does it keep doing that? Cancel. No, I want this. Hold on.
oh, you're looking at your computer for the chart?
Yes, hang on a second.
No worries.
I will. There we go. That's what it's doing wrong. Okay, stop it. So, all of this Scorpio energy right now is moving through his house of communication. So there's like deep level probing
Yeah.
going on of things that he has said. And then when I said earlier that that along around about Thanksgiving, things are going to feel a whole lot better. The influences that'll be doing that will go across his moon at that time. So we could be seeing real outbursts
From Trump.
at that point, but it's also going to be gradually locking into Neptune, the planet of, buoy. So what you want to know is, I don't see anything new entering the picture in December, just more and more indications of disintegration and disintegration and disintegration. And it's entirely probable that this week a woman that he's related to sells him out.
Oh, who might that be? Does her name start with an I? I do think so. Is that happening today? Is she in court today?
I am not sure. I think it was it the 8th that she's supposed to testify? I'm not sure. I
Yeah,
can't bring myself to follow all of it.
I know. It's really nauseating. So let's see. Do you think that his outbursts are going to increase?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because it's off the rails right now. It's like it's so funny because my PNN last night, I was just comparing it to a terrible toddler that was having a tantrum, and that you just wanted the parents to shut him up, right? And then later I'm watching the news of just different programs, and they're describing him that way, just off the rails, nuts. Oh, I mean, and the fact that the news, mainstream news, is trying to tell us that he's neck and neck in the polls with Biden. It's just I feel so insulted by that. But yeah, we can't have him on the ballot. I don't think he's going to be on the ballot. I don't know if you've peeked at that. I think Amendment 14, Section 3 is going to kick in. So I don't even see him running for president. And from what you're saying, it doesn't look like he's going to be on the ballot if he's falling apart.
Well, here's a possibility, all right? He's on the ballot and he's unable to actually run, and it might be the equivalent of, I am not saying he will die. It might be the equivalent of when someone dies really close to an election and there's not a time to put somebody in there. So that party just has this person who can't possibly fulfill the job. So even if his name is actually on the ballot, I
he wouldn't be there.
he will be institutionalized. I think it's much more likely it's going to be a health thing where he is removed from wandering around the public. And right now and into next year, we're seeing more and more insanity and proof of fraud, more and more evidence of fraud, evidence of fraud, evidence of fraud. And everyone, park this date in the back of your mind.
I'm going to write it down.
December 6th, Neptune, which is what is his, the illusionist right there. Neptune is going to station direct at a spot where it did something really important, but behind our conscious understanding. In April 2022. So December 6th is going to have this subtle, but if you watch for it, you'll see it, experience like the tide moving back, and you go, oh, that's what's washed up?
Ah, more revelations. It sounds like interesting. I'm gonna
Something that's been there, and you go, "Oh, isn't that massively interesting?"
maybe be the Kremlin.
Well,
Uh,
it's something that dates back to
yeah,
April 2022.
something's coming up around the Kremlin too. I think it might be something to do with that. Before we go today, we have to talk about the potential of a government shutdown.
Oh, I don't even know where to look for that.
Well, you're looking at the United States chart. You're looking at the Democrats.
Let me put the US chart up here.
And then you were saying too, I mean, you already kind of hinted at that we're going to be okay. I don't think we're going to have a government shutdown. I think that the Republicans, if you can call them that, don't want to make themselves look worse than they already do.
Hang on a sec.
Drum roll.
I do not see. Oh no, that might be that, huh? No, I don't. I don't see an astrological influence in the transits that would cause that. It could be that I could, run progress charts, look at the constitution chart, drive myself nuts trying to come up with something. I will say that the what's going on with the Republican Party's chart does show that they're going to be looked at having sacrificed women and people who can't stand up for themselves. So if they, try to force a shutdown with this, oh, we're going to take Medicare, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah, Social Security,
it's
all that stuff again, it's not going to go well for them.
it's just too much. We're still a democracy. We still vote. As much as they try to suppress the vote.
Vote. I voted. See, I voted.
Oh yeah,
I still have my sticker on.
all right. And we know she voted for Democrats across the board. Excellent. I do. You did allude to that we'll be okay. I don't think that the Republican Party can afford to shut down the government because
There would be a huge political price that comes out of it, and
yeah,
very quickly, like by early December, if they do that.
if they do it, yeah, and I don't think that they will just because they've lost so much ground as it is, and we are still a democracy, and votes still get counted as much as they try to stop it. And you also were saying that around the end of this month things are going to feel a lot like easier and flowing and to relax. So I don't associate that with the government shutdown to just throw everything into absolute chaos and people traveling Thanksgiving. I think that's more people traveling than even Christmas time.
Probably. Now, I will caution that there's going to be a pileup of energy in Sagittarius, which does rule policy and politics, and this could go into Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse territory, My Way or the Highway. So
Mhm.
that's like, but I don't. With other things that are happening, I
Yeah,
don't see
doesn't
that being the way it expresses
no,
itself.
it's not going to be supported.
I think it's much more. I want to go have fun with my friends for a change, please. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, we need that. We're enough of the drama already. So it seems like we're going to be okay. Of course we are.
Every little thing gonna be all right. Well, not maybe every little thing, but
Excellent. I think we covered everything. We have just a minute. Warren wonders if Moscow Mitch will school MAGA Mike about how government operates. Moscow Mitch is not even functioning in his brain. People ask about him, and it's like, I just feel like they're propping him up, and he's not really functional.
Saturn did a number on him. He fell very shortly after Saturn moved into Pisces, and I actually did a chart for the fall, and I don't think he's recovered or recovering.
Nor do I. And I said that from the moment he had that fall, he's done. And I didn't think he'd come back in September, and he came back. But I read energy. He's not really there. You don't really see him really at all.
No.
Thanks,
Mm-mm.
Patty. So it's interesting, but thank you. I feel much more optimism, and that's maybe a reflection of how things are going today. I think things are going in a positive direction with it being voting day. I think people are fed up, and I know that Midas Touch and so many different organizations, at Grassroots of Democracy included, have been getting out the vote. People are jumping on board. They're not going to have that. Not on our watch. Do you want to share again what you are offering?
Hey, everybody. My name is Kathy Biehl. My website is empowermentunlimited.net. I have free weekly, monthly moon forecasts. My
YouTube channel.
YouTube channel is Professional Aquarian. I have a Patreon where I explain how to actually work with all the stuff that's going on. My Facebook, yeah, like it's like real. The subtitle for my stuff is astrology you can use. So,
oh, good.
Yeah, ready. And the Facebook group is the Astro Insight Lounge, and I put political stuff in there. I don't put political stuff on in my Patreon.
Okay.
So there we go.
We'll go to Professional Aquarian, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Great. I want to encourage everyone to join Grassroots of Democracy because it's really important that we're all together saving our democracy. The threat is very much there of losing our democracy. So grassrootsofdemocracy.com. If you're watching this on Tuesday afternoon on November 7th, voting day, we have our meeting tonight, 20 on Tuesdays. We do a guided meditation for a healed America every single Tuesday. If you're on the email list and you can't make it to the meeting, you'll still get a recording of the meditation. And we meet also on Thursdays and on Saturdays. On Thursday nights, we have a discussion group. Saturdays, we work. I make my living doing readings and giving classes. I have a class coming up about abundance, and I also am available for readings. PsychicAnnetteDion.com. Check that out. Check out Church of Spirituality. It will make your life better for spiritual upliftment. And that's every Sunday at 1. So PsychicAnnetteDion.com. And Church of Spirituality has its own website too, churchofspirituality.online. We're offering a lot. We're generous souls, right, Kathy?
Oh, yeah.
give, and the law of reciprocity is we also receive, and it's a win-win. So take advantage of that, everyone, and thank you for all your love and support and your donations and your blessings and hugs and all that. Let's end. You want to end with a group hug because everybody in the chat loves that.
Let's go.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Group hug! Yay! All right, excellent. And we'll see you on the full moon week. Does that Tuesday work for you?
I think so.
Same time, same bat channel.
That's the way I say it.
All right, good. And I'll announce it again too. So it'll be in 2 weeks on Tuesday at 3 Eastern time if you want to catch us live. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe and share. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.